Okay. Okay, we left off over here on Mem Zayin at Beis. Rav had said, Mekarish Milva in Mukudeshes. So Mar quoted a Brisa, so Rav says clearly the Brisa is a flawed Brisa, and it wasn't quoted correctly. And how does it have to be read? What's the Machlokas, the Tanakama, and Rav Shimon Elazar, the name of Rav Meir? That's what we're holding. Elatritzochi. You have it? Elatritzochi. This is the way the Brisa has to be read. Has to be reconciled, that it should be a legitimate Brisa. Ubimilve. Right? The Brisa speaks about a case of Pikodin. A woman has a Pikodin, and the man says, I want to marry you with the Pikodin that's in your possession. The item that I gave you for safekeeping, that you're the shomer, you're the custodian, I'm marrying it. Then it turns out, she goes to locate it, it's stolen or lost. So the Tanakama says if there's a Shovet Pruta, if there's a scent of that original Pikodin still there, she's Mukudeshes, right? Then it speaks about Milveh. Now, that's the question. What is the case of Milveh? Ubi Milveh, however, Apish Nishtari Shovet Pruta, Einu Mukudeshes. Even if there's a scent left, Einu Mukudeshes. Even though there's a sense. So we differentiate between the Pikodin and the Milveh. Reb Shimon Elazar Mishum Remeya, Milveh Hareikut Pikodin. Milveh is just like Pikodin. What does that mean? B'may Kamiflagi. So Rashi explains this in a moment. Even if the full Milveh is intact, the full Milveh is intact. Originally he lent him $100, and he has originally 100 coins. And the borrower has those 100 coins. Tanakama says it's not the same. Reb Shimon Elazar says, name Rameir, it's exact like Pikodin. But it's only like Pikodin if the full amount of money is there. But my kamiflagi. Omer Rabbah, so Rabbah says, Ashkachtinu the Rabbonim Bei Rav. He came upon the Chachomim who were studying in the Beis Medrash. The Yasvi Kamri, they were sitting and they were discussing this subject matter. And they had said, B'milva b'shus acheri, b'shus ba'al l'chazora. V'odei loansin. Meaning, if a man the lender lends a borrower 100 coins. And the borrower did not start using the coins yet. Spending any of the money. So the original 100 coins are intact. Does the lender have a right to say, I want the money back? Because we'll discuss in a moment, if a person lends a person an axe, a cordum, and the borrower takes it, what we call the shoel, and the lender says, and he hasn't yet used it. The shoel hasn't yet used the axe, and the lender says to the borrower, borrows the axe, I want it back. Everybody agrees that the borrower has to give back the axe. But if he used the axe, even as much as once, then it's locked in for the period of time that originally he lent it to him. He borrowed it for a month. He has no right to reclaim it for a month. But if he hadn't yet used it, the axe, then he has a right to reclaim it, and he has to relinquish it back to the owner of the axe. We'll discuss it in a moment. It's Gemara above Mitzvah. It's not Shoel. Okay? We'll discuss it in a minute. However, so that's the question now. Regarding the money, if the money is still intact, and he hasn't spent even a coin of the money, any part of the money, and now the lender says to the borrower, I want the money back. So do we see the money as if it's still the money? Because since he hasn't started using the money yet. So therefore we see all the money as if it's still the money of the lender? Or do we say, no, the moment he gives it to the borrower, it becomes the borrower's money. Although they're the original coins. And the Gemara says, so what's the difference between the axe and the money? So the Gemara says the difference is, according to Tanakama, because when you give the money is never meant to be returned. When I give you the axe, it's my axe. When you finish using my axe, it's meant to be given back. That's the difference. So therefore, by the axe, until you actually use the axe, you weren't kona. The borrowing period hasn't yet begun. The borrowing period begins when you start using the axe. Therefore, since he hadn't used the axe yet, therefore the lender has a right to reclaim the axe. We'll discuss it. There's a Tosas over here. We'll discuss it in a moment. So let's.
There was no condition about the axe.
He lent it to him for 30 days. I'm lending you axe for 30 days.
He has to specify.
Let's say 30 days, but he hadn't yet used it. He hadn't yet used the axe.
No, but if he doesn't specify the length of time.
So let's say there's a presumption it's minimally for a day. For a day, he lent it to him. Right? and he says, I want it back immediately. Does he have to give back immediately? If he hadn't yet used the axe, he has to give back immediately. Everybody agrees. He began using the axe even as much as once. He doesn't have to give back the axe until that period of time that he borrowed it passes. Okay? That's the halacha, so we'll see. If the original money is intact, is it still in the domain of the lender? That's the question. That's the argument. They said, and the same thing is true regarding the liability. It's an interesting question now. They said, if it's the money of the lender until you actually use it, let's say something should happen to the money. Let's say a fire breaks out, the money is destroyed. Who has the liability? The lender or the borrower? So they said it depends. If it's the lender's money, the lender has the liability. But if it's the borrower's money, then it's the borrower's money burnt, right? It goes hand in hand. That's what they wanted to say. The Tanakh says that the money, the loan, is already, it's in the domain of the borrower. As a result of that, the moment he takes the money, although the coins are still intact, he has no right to reclaim the money, even though he hadn't yet begun using the money. And the same, so if it's his money, if something should happen to it, even though it's something beyond his control, who has the liability? The borrower has full liability. It's his money that was destroyed. Marsava, but Rav Shimon Elazar, who says the name of Rav Meir, that he has a right to reclaim the money if the money hadn't yet begin being used. Milveh b'shus balim kaima. The money, until the borrower begins using it, is in the domain of the lender. So if that's the case, the domain of the lender, something should happen to money. Whose money is being destroyed? Who did loans in? So it's the lender's money. So the borrower doesn't have that liability. So this is what Rav had heard. So Rav says, I agree and I disagree. What you're saying in terms of your interpretation of the argument. He says, I disagree. In regard to liability, there is no argument. The one who has full liability is the borrower. The borrower, although the money that he has is the money of the lender. Yeah? Even though the money that he's in possession of is the money of the lender, he has full liability. My timer, what's the reason? Logora mishelo. What happens if a person borrows something? I borrow your axe. And now, what happens? The axe, there's armed robbery. Armed robbery is known as, a person comes with a weapon, he says either the item or your life. And he has to relinquish it. He has no choice. That's onus. He has no choice. If he's a borrower, he has full liability. He has to compensate the lender. Yeah, because since he has all the rights to use it, therefore he has full liability. So over here, so even though it's the money of the lender, but factually the money that's in his possession now, does he have a right to use it? So because he has full right to use it, although the lender could reclaim it because it's his item, it's no different than the axe, he has full liability. Just as when I lend you an item, although the item is fully returned, and the item is always the lender's item, and yet when it's in the possession of the borrower has full liability, milve lo koshke. So milve, where ultimately he's going to spend it, and he will not return the same coins. Although the coins now are maybe the coins of the lender, you have full liability. Of course, you have the right of usage of those coins, even to the point not to return the coins. Right? So he says, I agree and I disagree. I agree what you're saying in terms of what the basis for the argument is. But in terms of liability, it makes no difference whose coins they are, because the borrower has the right to use the coins, therefore he's classified as a borrower, and a borrower has full liability.
The lender would have the right to ask for the coins back. Then he would be able to be the the woman with it, because it's saying to her...
That's what, exactly. That's why he could be Mekadosh the woman. That's why he could be Mekadosh the woman. Because it's his money. Right? He gave her a loan, all the money's intact. He says, Harei Mukadeshesli with the milva. So whose coins? He's giving his, that's like Pikodin. Except the difference in Pikodin, she doesn't have full liability. Because she has no right to use it. So therefore, it depends what kind of shomer is she. She a shomer chinam, shomer socher, right? But she's not a borrower over there. By the Pikodin. Because every... No, it's not. It's not because everybody agrees. He explains. Once the money, that's like you chopped. You chopped with the axe. That already, it's already transferred.
Is he chopping with it?
No, because there the axe is still his axe, but the money was meant to be spent, and once you begin spending, then it transfers to the borrower. Okay.
Everybody agrees that someone has an object. It's the borrower's responsibility, even though the retraction is still.
Well, but let's talk.
Yeah.
The Gemara says, why does a shoel have full liability? Why does a borrower have? I borrow your car. I'm a borrower. Nice person. You're even willing to pay for the gas. The lender. No, you pay, then you're not a borrower. That's a shomer socher. That's a socher. A socher. No, then you're renting it. Then renting. That's renter. It's a renter. Renter, there's a machlokes whether it's like shomer socher or it's like shomer chinam. But definitely not a shoel.
But you don't own it.
You never own it. When you borrow, you don't own it either. I borrow your car. Do I own your car?
Right, but does the money play a part in the status of the...
Yes, it plays a status in the status of the custodian, of the one whose possession. Am I a renter? Am I a paid custodian? Or am I a borrower? So let's say I borrow, you're a nice person, you lend me a car. I park it in a secure location, right? Security cameras, everything. That day, the building collapses, a cave-in, the car is destroyed. Who has liability to fit the car? The borrower. You can't fault him. He took every precaution to protect that car. Schai Bone said he has full liability. Why? Someone asked, why? No, it has nothing to use it, because you're a borrower. What does it mean you're a borrower? If a person owns something, if let's say something similar should happen, he takes the full loss. Right? You take the full loss. If it would be your car and you park it, same thing would happen. Who takes the loss? Wait. You understand? Let's take it to the next step. Okay? So the owner takes the full loss. A borrower has all the benefits of an owner without any cost outlay. So therefore, he has the same liability. So when you become a borrower, we have all the benefits of an owner without the cost factor, you assume that level of liability. So you have full responsibility.
Fine. But what happens if the guy says, hey, you can borrow my car, and he never takes it out of the garage, and out of the
Did he never took it?
never took it.
Never became a borrower.
I said, borrow my car.
No, everybody agrees. A shoal needs a kinyon. You need a kinyon. How did he become a borrower? No. He gave the money. Gave the axe to the person. The woman has the money in her possession. So even though it's his money, that he could always say it's... She has the money. Of course she has the money. It's milva biyodo. She has the money. We're arguing, but whose coins are they? Are the coins of the lender or the coins of the borrower?
So what would happen now if the lender said you can borrow my car for a week, and just every night at the end of the day he said look at the parking unit, so we put it back in my parking place. So the car is sitting overnight in the lender's parking.
But you borrowed it. Wait. But you borrowed it for a week.
For a week, and that building collapsed. It collapsed.
Full liability. Full liability. Doesn't make a difference because it's considered the borrower's car in the parking spot of the lender. That's the reason. That's something else. It's Mesa Machmas Mlocha. Okay? The battery dies. Right?
So again, I'm sorry, but just getting back to that situation. So she has the money.
And it's his money.
Right, but what advantage is it to her if...
Because she could use the money. Whenever she chooses to use that money, she could use that money.
What's the advantage of the lender if he's responsible also?
The borrower saying that's why he says, I disagree with you. I disagree with you. Because factually, she's a borrower. Since she has the right to use that money whenever she chooses to use it, she has the right. One second. The difference between the Tanakama and Shimon Lo's name Rameir, when the money is in the possession of the borrower, whose money is it before the borrower begins using the money? Is it in the possession of the lender or is it possession of the borrower? So the Tanakama says, Ein B'Kudeshes, it's in the possession of the borrower. That's what it's Ein B'Kudeshes. if according to Rebbeir, until she begins using the money, it's in possession of the lenders. It's Mukudeshes. He's giving her his money. Smar says, Elohodi Amar Rafuna, Hashal Korda Michaver Bikea Bokono, Lo Bikea Lokono. Says a person lends a person his axe. We say if the borrower actually chops with it, then he acquires it, meaning then the loan is locked in where the lender cannot reclaim it until the period of time passes. But if he does not, he could reclaim it. So why are we regarding the money? Do we say the moment he gives her the money, according to one opinion, he can't reclaim the money? It's her money immediately. No, it's a question on Rav Huna. Rav Huna state, it seems nobody argues with Rav Huna. According to what you're saying, then we have a problem with Rav Huna. Because Rav Huna's position seems to be not a machlokes tanoim. Now we're taking Rav Huna and we're making it into machlokes tanoim. If we equate the axe to the money, so Rav Huna's position, which was stated in a way where it's unanimously accepted, it seems to be it's not that simple. It's a machlokes tanakama and Rameir, right? Until you actually use it, right? Whether you have a right, whether it's yours or it's the lender's. Someone says, Leimek Tanoi, Omra L'Shmaitzek. So it seems to be Rav Huna only stated his position according to one of these positions, which doesn't seem to be the case, right? He said, the way he stated, nobody argues it. It's accepted, nobody argues his position. Someone says, Lo. It has nothing to do with this argument. Ad kan lo pligel b'milveh. This argument, when the borrower receives the money, whether it's the money of the borrower or it's still the money of the lender, that's only regarding a milveh. Why? Why is it only regarding a milveh? Lohodja be'eno. Because the money was never meant to be given back. When you lend money, the lender never intended that the same coin should come back to him. It's given to you to spend, to use as you choose to use it. Right? Therefore, so that's the question. When he releases the money into the possession of the borrower, what's his mindset? It's mine until you use the money, begin using it, or no. Since it's meant to be spent, the moment I give it to you, it's transferred immediately into the domain of the borrower. Right? That's the argument regarding to a loan. Aval Sheila, but in regard to lending an item, the Hodja Beina, when the item is being returned after it's being used, Divrei Akol, everybody agrees. Bikea bo ein, lo bikea lo lo. If he began using the item, then it's transferred into the domain of the borrower. So for the period of time that he borrowed it, the lender cannot recall it. However, if he did not use it yet, so what was the mindset of the lender when he gave him the axe? If I should want it back before you begin using it, I have a right to reclaim it. That was the intent. That was the intent of the lender. Okay, now, Tosas points out that even according to Rav Huna, he quotes the Gemara in Bava Metzia Shoel regarding the axe. Let's say I borrow an axe, and everybody agrees that if you did not begin chopping with the axe, using the axe, the lender could say, I borrowed the axe for 30 days, and I did not begin using it. I get a call from the lender. I want the axe back. I'm obligated to give it back. I have to give the axe back to the lender. Lo bikabo, right? What happens is now something should happen to it. The axe is destroyed, ba'unsin. Who has liability? The lender or the borrower? So the Gemara says in Bava Metzia, the borrower has full liability. It's no different than the money we said over here. Since you have the right, no, it doesn't make a difference, but since, as long as it's my position, I have a right to use it, the right, no, he didn't reclaim it. No, he didn't reclaim it yet. It's in the borrower's hand, and the borrower did not recall it. He did not recall it. But the lender. Although he could recall it any moment he wants to recall it. But factually, what you have in your hand, do you have a right to use? Yeah. So since you have full rights, you have full liability. No. Then he's a shomachinam. Then he's a shomachinam the moment he recalls it. But if he hadn't recalled it, although he has the ability to recall it, the borrower has the full liability, which is similar to the money, because that's what he disagreed with him. Even though they're arguing whose money is it, right? Even though it may be the money of the lender, but if something should happen to who has liability, what did Rob say? Onsin, it's the borrower has the liability. Although the lender could recall the money because none of the money was spent yet. No, we're talking about onsin.
So, in this particular case, gets that telephone call, I want it back.
Correct. He has to
Now the axe gets
Destroyed.
in this interim period. Who has
the borrower.
the borrower?
No, did he make the call yet? Did he make the
Made
call?
the call.
No. No. It's the lender. The lender has the liability. The borrower does not have the liability.
So the borrower is
Because he's no longer a borrower. He's no longer a borrower. I have no right to use it. The moment I get that call, I have no longer have a right to use that.
Who has the responsibility of looking after that?
No, I'm an unpaid custodian now. Now I'm an unpaid custodian. So only if it's gross negligence.
I removed it from your place.
No, I didn't remove it. I withdrew your right of usage. But factually, until you give it back, you're an unpaid custodian. So as long as it's not gross negligence,
The building should fall on that axe.
definitely not. Even if it's stolen. Even if it's stolen.
Stolen.
There's no liability to the one who's in possession.
But if you left it outside in the drain,
Or was stolen. He left it outside and it was stolen.
then the borrower would have it.
Then the borrower. Because that's the liability.
Custodian.
Correct, custodian.
It falls into that.
Right.
Rabbi, what about if the lender recalls the axe, he wants it back, and between the moment he wants it back and it's given to him, it was stolen?
That's what we're talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. He's an unpaid custodian. He has no liability. No liability. Because he's an unpaid custodian, and unpaid custodian has no liability if it's stolen. No, this is all understood. I mean, that's the question. I mean, if there's no basis that he ever recalled it, so the presumption he never recalled it, that would be on the borrower. But let's say there's a dispute, yes or no, since it's you have a financial claim against someone, bring proof. You bring the proof, then you collect. Right? That's understood. You wanted to say something before, Alec? It's been answered. Okay. Well, that's the argument. That's the argument. But liability, everybody agrees. Liability, the one who has the money in his possession has full liability.
Never, his status never changes. So can it be recalled?
That's and that would make a difference if he marries her with the money that she has, which she hasn't yet begun using. Is she mukadeshes, not mukadeshes? Tanakama says ain't mukadeshes. Rameir says mukadeshes. So Tosas asks a question over here, very interesting question. How did all this Gemara begin? Rav made a statement, Mekadosh milva ain't mukadeshes. So he says, and so Gemara says, Tanoi seems to be, he made his statement as if everybody accepts his position. It's machlokas Tanoi. So Gemara says no. But according to what the Gemara is explaining now, it is a machlokas. It depends if you hold like Rameir or you hold like, or like Shimon Elazar. No. The money's intact. Rab said his halacha, even if the money's fully intact, the halacha is what? Ain't mukadeshes. And here we're saying, according to Rameir, she is mukadeshes. So Rab's position is still a machlokas Tanoim. That's Tos's question. Right? In Tomer. Okay? Rega, 1 second. Akati, name a Rav Ketanoi, Omer L'Shmaitze. Do you Omar HaMekarish B'mil Ve'en Mukadeshes? Lo Motzi Sovak Rav Shimon Elazar. Rav does not concur with Rav Shimon Elazar. He's not. So it's a machlokas Tanoim again. He made a statement as if everybody accepts his position. Rav. But yet, with the way we see it now, it's a machlokas Tanoim.
Why do we submit it that it's every agree? Why can't Rav be just agreeing with one time and not agreeing with the other?
Because the Gemara is saying it's not. See, let Rav answer that. I'm only going to one. But the Gemara doesn't answer. He said, no, that's a different argument. What's the Gemara's answer? It's not a different argument. After everything's said and done, according to the conclusion of Gemara, it is a machlokas Tanoim.
Where Mora takes position of the time.
I understand that. The Gemara understood it's such a simple concept, nobody would argue it. So that's what Gemara's trying to verify, to clarify. Gemara says, it's not. So Tosa says, it is. According to the conclusion of the Gemara, it is. So what's the Gemara saying it's not? So Tosa says something interesting. Everybody agrees. Let's say the woman began spending even a cent of that loan. Correct? Even Rameir is in agreement. Wait, not that is Rameir. The Tanakam definitely agrees. So there's no argument. Rav said a Mekadosh Milva Ein Mukadeshes means where she began using the money. That's Rav. Rav is not specifically, if she began using any of the money, everybody agrees Milva Lo Tzon Nidno. So there's no argument. That's it. So we're changing the understanding of Rav. If in fact the money's intact, fully intact, then that's machlokes tanoim. Although we rule like the Tanna Kama. But where did Rav say it where it will be unanimously accepted if any of the money was used? So what the Gemara's conclusion is, in that case, nobody argues that's Mekadosh Milva. Look, Yishlomo the Rav Nami Savakavose. Lo Tikshi Midi, Do Omar Rav, Ein Bukudesh, Hai Meir Bimilva, Shehis Kalotzio. When Rav says Ein Bukudeshes, we're able to interpret Rav that his position can apply to everyone. No. We changed it. We changed the girsa. No. Gemara calling. No. If you use as much as Shava Pruta, then everybody agrees Ein Bukudeshes. The money has to be fully intact to be Bukudeshes. If the money hasn't yet been used, that's like the axe that hasn't been used. No, Rav could concur with Rav Shimon Elazar.
By saying that if none of the money was used,
That's like Pekodin. It's still the money of the lender, so therefore you can become. No. The Gemara says, where does Rameir say she's Mukudeshes where the money was not used? So he's saying Rav is not speaking in that case. Rav is not speaking in that case where none of the money was used. He would agree, Mukudeshes. Where Rav said, Ein Mukudeshes, where everybody would agree, where the borrower began using the money, even as much as a cent of the money. No, it's Pekodin. Pekodin. That's exactly what he's saying. When already there's a milveh, it's already, some of the money is owed. Once it's owed, all the money is owed. It's not a milveh, it's like Pekodin. Because the lender could recall the money. That, if when? Everybody agrees. Nobody argues. Even Reb Meir agrees. You cannot. Everybody agrees you cannot. It's not a marriage. Because now it's the borrower's money. You're not giving her anything. No, then we would say he would rule like the Tanna Kama. He would rule like the Tanna Kama. His ruling could be applied to both positions. Therefore, in the context that he's communicating it, where the money belongs to the borrower, she's Ein Bukudeshes. Even though 99% of the money is intact, the money is no longer the lender's money. Everybody agrees. Nobody argues there. Rav personally, what he could hold, he rules like Tanna Kama. It's Yochad V'Ram Aloch Rabbi. Right? Tanna Kama is the majority opinion. And the Tanna Kama holds, even if none of the money was used, the moment the money is given to the borrower, it's the money of the borrower. But Rav's statement could apply to both opinions.
Practically speaking, when he gives the loan of $100, and whether she spends that $1 or not, only she would know that. And he would never have insight on that perspective. He gave her a loan.
Wait a second. No. You have to have Eidim. You have to have witnesses. Witnesses verify this.
How could they verify?
You know, when you marry a woman, the Masada Kiddushin says to the witnesses, look at the ring. Is it a Sheva Pruta or not a Sheva Pruta? That question has to be asked.
So they have to verify.
Let's say it's a plastic ring, a plastic band that's not even worth a cent. That's what it turns out. It's nothing. That's why they say, and what are they? He says Sheva Pruta. Because again, we don't want, for a moment you should think that it's worth much more than that. Minimally, and it's worth a penny? Yes, okay. Now we can say.
So they have to evaluate the loan amount?
No, we're talking about coins. Are the coins fully intact? Not according to a mayor. Only according to a mayor.
Right, because he says he could.
Because according to Tanna Kama, the moment the money is given to the borrower, the money is gone. Okay? Let's go a little further.
Just a point here. The man lends the other man money. The man walks out with a sack of money. And when he's halfway home, he gets a call on his cell phone saying, I want the money back. So now we say that the borrower's liability is decreased.
Because he's not a borrower any longer.
Or he's a different kind, he's a custodian.
Because he's not he's
an unpaid custodian.
He's a custodian before also. According to Rameh, he's also a custodian.
He's a full custodian before the court.
Custodian with full liability.
And then he decreases to lower.
Correct, correct.
So the lender has to be careful because that telephone call exposes him to risk.
Right, correct.
And he has to be careful about it. I mean, because there may be another way for him to accomplish the same thing without him taking the risk. Because as long as that man is in the street for the money.
But he has a chance. He may spend it before he gets there. If he doesn't make that call, he may spend it. If he spends it, he has to wait the period of time that originally the loan was given for. But let's say he borrowed it for 6 years, so he has to wait for 6 years to collect. And if you're not able to charge, and if you're not right, and if you're not able to charge interest, the man has to wait 6 years for his money.
All the borrower has to do is go and spend it.
Exactly.